Alright, so we're back with the story. As you see here that chapter 3 is now available. In my previous video, it ended off with someone doing something to Soul Weaver, and I believe that this next section here would be the investigation for it. I'm really curious to see who the culprit will be by the end of this. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. Chapter 3, Return of the Past. As though being down by this chaos, the young cartographer lies on the floor, her face frozen in a perturbed frown. The marine engineer was accused of being the culprit, and the taxidermist and meteorologist surrounding him at the scene. With no attempt to verify his situation, I took a few steps closer, trying to assess the conditions of the cartographer. Oh my gosh. Oh no. She's like holding her face. Her eyes are closed tightly, her breathing is weak, and her mouth occasionally emits a vague muttering. There is a small pinhole on the back of her left hand with a slight rending of the damaged skin area. Y'all, this room is a wreck. On our way, we saw the marine engineer was leaving the cartographer's room. The door was wide open, and the cartographer had fallen to the ground. Apart from him, we didn't see anyone else around. Obviously, he's the most likely suspect. That's right. We can't really restrain the marine engineer, so we're trying to call for some help. Even though they did not accost him physically, the marine engineer made no attempt to escape. No resistance, no attempt to defend himself. So, is this possibly a setup? Maybe? He seems to have only just realized his current predicament. No, it wasn't me. I didn't hurt the cartographer. Oh my gosh, Charles. He shakes his head and scrunches up his face, his eyes darting, and his speech is fragmented and vague. I notice that his hands are also trembling. He looks both panic-stricken and guilty. But as I was leaving, the doctor and meteorologist happened to pass by. I think that must be why they misunderstood what was actually going on. But he haven't said anything about what the shadow figure looked like. Neither did the taxidermist and the meteorologist mention anyone fitting that description. So, like, that's what I'm saying. I feel like maybe they're just all in on this or something. I looked at the marine engineer who has already answered several of my questions. His clothes are stained with soot of varying shades, and there are black smudges between his fingers. I'm not one to judge people based on appearance. It's just that his appearance reminded me of another speculation that has long been lingering in my mind. Oh wait, it was this one, the sooty footprints. Could the large sooty footprints I found before the cartographer's doorway belong to the marine engineer? If he really is the shadowy culprit whose presence the cartographer felt that day, the odds of the marine engineer's presumed culpability would obviously be even greater. Wait, Mr. Benefactor, it really wasn't me. Someone went to the cartographer's room before me. That's the real culprit here. The marine engineer tried to prove his innocence, but just as I still had my doubts about his claims, the benefactor did not believe in the mysterious appearing and disappearing dark figure he speaks of, and even presents new evidence. If you're not the culprit, why did you find this in your room just now? The benefactor holds a syringe that is missing its needle, which is exactly what I had hoped to find. It is astonishing that you should volunteer for this expedition, yet clandestinely dare to concoct such a nefarious scheme. The marine engineer appears poised to argue further, yet the sheaf of documents presented thereafter by the benefactor seems to drain every ounce of vigor from his being. Oh my gosh, this letter, y'all. Wait, who the heck is Martin? The first few pages are written by a man named Martin in a casual tone. From the contents of the letters, it appears he was a crew member aboard the Eisenberg 25 years ago. It is evident that the marine engineer harbors a keen interest in Professor Branley and the cartographer. Coupled with the letter writer's animosity towards Professor Branley, could this be his motive for attacking the cartographer? We have examined her. The cartographer has been inflicted with an unknown toxin and has yet to regain consciousness. However, her condition is stable and there is no immediate threat to her life. After discussing the matter with the crew, it has been decided that we should maintain the schedule of our scientific expedition as originally planned. So, someone basically, like, poisoned her, I guess? His state of mind is hardly conducive to my quest for answers. Suppressing my consternation, I delve straight into the heart of the matter. Oh my gosh, this is Leia. Mr. Marine Engineer, can you please tell me what brought you to the cartographer's cabins yesterday evening, your duties would not have called for a patrol at her door because... Oh, okay, wait. The clues. Not the testimonies. Okay. You may skip the interrogation after failing 3 times. Okay, let's see what the clues may be here. Alright, I'm gonna try this and see what happens. Or maybe I should show all. Was this a night before or not? Okay, I'm just gonna try this. According to the notes in the sailing log, Marine Engineer Room verified regular operations of the steam engine and fuel supply and confirmed mechanical and electrical equipment to be working order. Your appointed patrol was within the engineer's room's confines deep in the belly of the ship. It wasn't me, it really wasn't me. I just remembered wrongly. I made a mistake in my recollection of the time. I was indeed patrolling the engineer room, but on the way I heard some strange noise coming from the cartographer's room along the way, so I went to check out of concern. I was there out of concern. And still you reply to me with falsehoods. The engine room and the passenger cabins are not on the same deck. Even if they were on the same level, given last night's weather conditions, it had been quite the challenge to discern any sounds. This would have been doubly true for the marine engineer station as he was at the bottom of the ship. The marine engineer couldn't have heard any unusual sounds last night because... Okay. Low-key, I feel like this might be the answer. The storm colossal din. The sound of the storm was incredibly loud, drowning out all other sounds inside the cabin. Okay, now I'm gonna try this clue. It might have been difficult to hear anything amidst last night's storm. The storm last night had not completely come to an end when I encountered you. In addition, the machines in the engine room also produced significant noise. How could you have heard any sound originating from the cartographer's room so far away? By spinning such lies, you only serve to pile a fresh layer of suspicion upon yourself, Mr. Marine Engineer. Oh. He appears resolute. Perhaps a shift in approach is warranted. An inquiry from an angle of greater consequence to him. His trip to the cartographer's chambers could not have been without intent. His true purpose lies hidden within. The evidence that illuminates the marine engineer's motivation is... Okay, I remember this. It was based on, like, the files, right? The letters, yeah. Showing his connection. Okay. These letters of correspondence with an engineer aboard the Eisenberg 25 years ago revealed that the marine engineer's participation in the current voyage was no mere coincidence. After all, he came prepared, evidently poised to undertake some deed in honor of his friend. The bond you shared with this friend of yours was sincere. Do you now wish to cast such a noble camaraderie under the shadows of iniquity? What? The documents retrieved from your room speaks volumes, sir. You were acquainted with an engineer aboard the Eisenberg 25 years ago. It was for him, was it not, that you sought the position of marine engineer aboard this craft after all these years, all in order to approach the cartographer. Did he also appear in Professor Branley's notes? He had a habit of writing in his diary. Professor Branley mentioned such a person in his account of the incident, the one he had called the Charybdis. Yeah, in the chronicles penned by Professor Branley, Charybdis is depicted in a state of intense turmoil, hence the moniker. This stands in stark contrast to the cheerful and serene prose found in the letters of the marine engineer. I am indeed uncertain of your true intentions, but should you resolve to guard as is a secret more important to you than life or death? Even if you claim innocence, the syringe found in your quarters casts a shadow of doubt, and the evidence and witness at hand are insufficient to brand you and your associate as premeditated aggressors and violators of trust upon our docking. To persist in such a matter would only serve to help heap further infaming upon this Charybdis a quarter century after that fated voyage. He may have violated his confidential agreement, but that was because Professor Branley deceived him first. He was just acting out of his own sense of righteousness and morality. He foregoes his own defense, opting instead to first counter on behalf of his friend, a testament to the profound weight this friendship holds in his heart. The marine engineer seems to have finally made a choice, so I refrained from interrupting his somewhat disordered exposition. Yes, you're correct. I took the initiative to venture to the door of the cartographer's room, having completed my duties ahead of time. It was safe, as everyone was in their own rooms. I wanted to confirm the events of that voyage with the cartographer, as she undoubtedly knows more about Professor Branley. But you see, he was a kind-hearted soul. Whether Professor Branley's account was flawed or something changed him, I cannot say. His action did indeed skirt the rules, hence my desire to seek a discreet, confidential moment with the young cartographer. Do you still remember what time it was? There are clocks in every room. As you pushed open the door, did you happen to notice where the hands of the clock pointed at that moment? At that moment, the clock on the wall, its hands were in a vertical line. It was 6 o'clock. That was a shadow, the cracks in the darkness, the eyes of the monster peeping out. Oh man, Charles is losing it right now. This physiological manifestation, for reasons unbeknownst to me, strikes a chord of familiarity. It hears... Oh, what the heck? Yeah, I don't know what this might be. Is it this? Like, possible hallucination patterns? Is it talking about this manifestation, or... Yeah, I'm just gonna try this. Perhaps it is a symptom of a toxin derived from a certain marine organisms, namely, this physiological manifestation, for reasons that because knowing strikes a chord of familiarity appears. Oh, okay, that's not it. Is it the jellyfish, I guess? Because it's like talking about the toxin, right? I don't know. It is just like the toxin encountered before. Upon reflection, there are many similarities between the conditions of the marine engineer and the cartographer from last evening. However, this toxin has been proven to take effort only through ingestion or direct injection through the epidermis. The marine engineer has yet to fulfill his objective and will not be so hasty to end his own quest for the truth. To present circumstances where it suggests that someone wishes to silence him. Perhaps this someone is the true culprit seeking to harm the cartographer. To substantiate this hypothesis, I must seek out the stewardess for confirmation. Okay, we're beginning chapter 4, Legend's End. Tampering with food prepared in mass like this would be difficult. If someone wanted to poison a particular dish, the chance will probably only arise during the portioning and delivering process. I haven't seen the stewardess getting particularly close to anyone during the journey, and the crew members I spoke of shared similar observations. Y'all, what if, like, the food was, like, left alone and someone just tampered it then? Like, someone came in and poisoned the food, basically. The taxidermist, who had ample opportunity to handle marine life and medical apparatus, and the benefactor who directed the stewardess in the delivery of meals both appear rather suspect. So doctor and composer is sus right now. But the handsome taxidermist and the benefactor look as stable as ever. So could they possibly just be working together? Like, could the taxidermist and the benefactor be the culprit here in this case? Moreover, a pivotal piece of evidence suggests that even if she were the culprit, she certainly had at least one accomplice. Okay, wait, this is her testimony, right? Like, she was talking how she was there with, like, clerk. Is it this? It mentions both the meteorologist and taxidermist eyewitness testimonies. So, I'm gonna try this. The key item that directly implicates the culprit is the taxidermist. Though most acquainted with syringes and... Oh, wait, was that answer wrong? No! Okay, wait. I don't know what proves, like, I know that she was with, like, Clark that night as her alibi, but, like, I don't know what clue that could be. Y'all, I don't know if I'm just reading the question wrong, but I actually don't know. Also, I just realized, like, why is this, the evidence here in Chinese compared to, like, all the other clues here? But, yeah, you know what? It might be the syringe, maybe? Like, possibly. You know what? I'm just gonna try. The syringe. One of the many standard issue syringes on the ship is missing its needle and is empty inside. The plunger of the ship has been pushed all the way to the front with no liquid residue inside the barrel. The individual who placed the syringe in the room would at the very least be privy to the incident and perhaps might even be the true mastermind behind it all. However, the benefactor, should his whereabouts at the time remain unaccounted, would have had the ample opportunity to commit the deed. Yet an unexpected interjection arises as someone unforeseen steps forth to vouch for him. Oh, what the heck? Okay, with photojournalists. I saw the benefactor at 18 o'clock. Although the stewardess and acquisition in the banquet hall seemed not to notice at the time, I did see the benefactor. Here's the photograph. Y'all. Oh my gosh, okay. Man is posing there. Does no one witness your whereabouts at the time of the cartographer's incident? Forgive me, I jest, of course. This is merely a retort style in your own manner of reasoning. Should you persist in deducing the culprit based on who was alone after 18 o'clock, you will clearly find yourself among the list of suspects as well. So he's accusing Mr. Inference. However, I believe you must also be aware that it is impossible to convict someone based on such evidence alone. Otherwise, you have found yourself implicated alongside the marine engineer. But in truth, we all know it was he who harbored malicious intent towards the cartographer, do we not? The photo itself has not been forged, but it may not necessarily have been taken at the corresponding time. If he is indeed the culprit, I must find some clues to prove this. The tillman of the storm could not have been falsified. If the vessel did indeed alter its course yesterday, revisiting the region of intense magnetic fields and thus leading to the malfunction of our instruments, then this act must have transpired. Oh, before the storm or after the storm? I believe before? Perhaps I should... Oh. This doesn't seem to be the work of the storm. More like a few days ago when we passed through a region of intense... Oh, wait. Okay, I guess it was after the storm. This shift in course must have occurred after the storm. The tumult of the waves masking the vessel's angle and the impact of the instruments rendered inoperative by the strong magnetic field was conveniently attributed to storm-induced malfunction. Hence, an object is this that could mark the time of the ship's second passage through the opponent magnetic field. This object is... Okay, it is a clock in my room. The time it stopped is the time the ship passed through a strong magnetic field. Oh, the clock basically stopped at 6:30. The clock in my room stopped at 18:30. This change was not made known, and perhaps from last evening at 18:30 or even earlier, the Eisenbard's actual route deviated from the one previously charted. And this deviation means that all samples based on the marine environment and biological ecology we previously visited may be invalid. For example, I may be proved that crucial piece of testimony false. The evidence that relies on the environment and biological ecology is... Okay, but now what could that possibly be? Is it possibly this? Irregular phenomenon on the ocean's surface. Plankton floats to the surface of the sea at sunset, inducing other organisms to gather and feed upon them. At that time of year, the phenomenon occurs at 6 o'clock. Okay, I think it's this clue. Wait, it's not... Hello? Is it this? Like, he was asking for a sample, so... is he talking about the jellyfish? What? Okay, so, okay, we have a photograph of, composer here. And then there's, like, this photograph with Doctor. It's about the seabirds, maybe? Yeah, I'm just gonna try this. Like, I really don't know. It's like the environment is, like, slightly different. I don't know. What? Okay, well. Yeah, maybe I should just try out this for the one with composer instead. I don't know if that would change anything, but, you know, I'm gonna try that. Oh, okay. The photojournalist claims not to observe any abundance of plankton surfacing at that time, nor exclusive fish that followed, just seabirds in flight. From this, it was deduced based on the patterns summarized from the previous days in these waters that it must have been 18 o'clock, the moment before the creatures fully emerged. The wind direction did not change between the 18th and 19th, hence the only possible cause for the discrepancies observed in the photograph from the 19th must be that the Eisenbard altered her course by then. You're the one who visited the cartographer's rooms last night and attacked her, aren't you? What on earth compels you to say such a thing? The photojournalist vouched for me just now, did she not? Clearly, the photojournalist is unaware that this vessel made a pivotal turn last night. The time she estimated was incorrect. After all, when she took that photograph, the Eisenberg had already passed through that intense magnetic field once again, hadn't it? With regard to both your refutation of the photojournalist's account or this fabrication of the ship's course, without evidence, please do not speak so recklessly. Of course, I possess evidence to support this assertion. The evidence that proves the contradiction present in your photograph is... Okay. Now, is it this photo, I wonder? Are we using this photo to compare to this photo? I'm just gonna try. Oh, okay. Oh, is it the sailing log? Okay, let's try it. Oh, we're doing this again. Are you admitting that the Eisenberg indeed executed a turn yesterday? Such a maneuver will render the alibi this photograph provides you null and void. This photograph was taken after the ship once again traversed the area of intense magnetic fields, the timing of which I finally verified. The evidence that can prove the time of my turn is... Okay. Is it the clock? Where it stopped at 6:30? You may restart the ship's instruments, but it is far more challenging to promptly mend the devices affected in each person's quarters. The clock stopped at 18:30, marking the moment yesterday when the Eisenberg changed course. The photograph taken by the photojournalist came thereafter. Mr. Benefactor, it appears no one can account for your whereabouts at 18 o'clock yesterday evening. Perhaps at that precise moment I was indeed alone. To my knowledge, you were in the same predicament. And this fact were to be construed as proof of any misdeed against the cartographer, then you, too, could be implicated as my accomplice. The cartographer's charts and guidance has saved us considerable time. Now that she lies unconscious, the crew must expend far more time than before to ensure we do not lose our way. What reason would I have to harm our guide on such an important voyage? Now, as the final piece of the puzzle falls into place, I find myself enveloped in a mist that had lingered here for 25 years. A premonition grips me. I am on the cusp of unveiling the truth, be it the one shrouded in the past or the one that lies before us in the present. Guide? Perhaps I can now finally deduce the benefactor's true identity. In that decades-old account, only two vacancies remain, Kraken and Priester, and the one pertaining to the benefactor can only be... Y'all. I don't remember which one is... Okay, you know what? Let me say the Kraken. A guy buried in the ocean, Kraken believed that there was something more nobler than life, which the vast majority of the other passengers could not seem to detect. The benefactor is the Kraken, the guide of the voyage, and the trustworthy provider of value is probably the ship's only doctor who can monitor people's physical conditions. That is the present-day taxidermist. Oh, we're doing this again. I'm curious, why can't I simply hold Professor Schilling's knowledge and views in high esteem, and thus choose to carry on his research? Professor Schilling's theories were lost to time because... Oh, is there a testimony for that? Oh, wait, is it the air scientist? Professor Schilling's students all drowned in a shipwreck. At that time, Professor Schilling's children were still young. Professor Schilling and all of his students perished beneath the waves 25 years ago, and the academic world mourns the loss of his teachings to this day. Professor Schilling had a young child. However, perhaps due to the child's tender age, subsequent reports scarcely mentioned much about them. Now, 25 years later, that child is now grown, and is presumably around the same age as you, Mr. Benefactor. Many young scholars end their studies and enter formal research at this age. Are your conjectures then solely based on age? Certainly not. Your conveyed preferences and actions resemble Professor Schilling's, and possessing ample resources to reconstruct the Eisenberg, even providing the other half of the sea chart for the cartographer to restore it in its entirety. These crucial documents were difficult for unrelated parties to acquire. In truth... Oh wait, is it? Oh, it's evidence. Okay. Is this a restored nautical chart? Is it this perhaps? Oh no, it's not. I don't know. Is it? Wait. The research results confidentiality agreement? Is it this? The survivors signed a confidentiality agreement with Professor Branley, leaving almost no documents or information behind. The materials in your hand, however, are clearly different from the direction indicated by the cartographer. Yet they're extremely comprehensive, even down to details of each cabin's arrangement. To this point, one might argue that you have unearthed some secret documents that have never been disclosed to the public, yet the jellyfish-shaped brooch upon your chest, I presume, is a reimagined version of Terra's pendant, symbolizing the familial legacy once held dear by Professor Schelling. Indeed, his necklace, due to Professor Schelling's fondness for it, left a lasting impression in academic circles. I merely recreated a similar ornament based on their recounted design. So will you allow me to look at the back of your brooch? What do you expect to find? A mere conjecture. There ought to be a singular distinctive mark on Professor Schelling's jellyfish pendant. Okay. Oh, it's this. The restored pendant. There were several apertures in its structure. 25 years ago, the Marine Engineer's friend, a seafarer known as Martin, bore a deep-seated appreciation for Professor Schelling. With skills acquired for his friend, he inspired to repair the broken tendrils of the professor's cherished jellyfish pendant. The Marine Engineer told me the method deep in his missive to his friend. This technique could restore the metal's breech to its original state, albeit leaving behind a minuscule seam. I think should Martin have indeed succeeded in the repair work, he would assuredly position this aperture upon the pendant's least conspicuous reverse side. This technique is only known to the Marine Engineer and his friend. It stands to reason that any subsequent replicas crafted in the likeness of Professor Schelling's pendant would not reproduce this particular detail. I'm betting, if the benefactor is really Professor Schelling's son, the pride he has exhibited in his prior actions suggests that he dons this ornament not for mere show, and that it bears the same familial significance to him. He would not sell for an inferior imitation. There's no need. I have actually expected it to be the cartographer who would discover this detail first, not you. You should have been prepared when you consented to my perusal of the Marine Engineer's collected documents. His research was quite exhaustive in his quest to uncover the truth for his friend. Perhaps the cartographer was truly unaware of this and genuinely believed in the tales spun by her father. Yet you were evidently privy to it all. From the outset of the scientific expedition, you spoke of the toxin that precipitated the incident of decades past. The toxin made me think of misjournal symptoms, and I can infer how it affected me. Oh wait, the journalist experienced hallucination patterns? Based on my observations of a journalist, her hallucinations seemed to be kind of a distortion based on reality. The hallucinations were caused by trace toxins inherent in these creatures. At the onset of our voyage, the toxin levels were insufficient to cause significant discomfort, merely minor paralysis and symptoms of visual and auditory hallucinations. However, the ecological environment Oceanus causes the creatures residing here to ferment these toxins within themselves. Since you, Mr. Benefactor, are aware of the truth from 25 years ago, assembling a scientific expedition so strikingly reminiscent of that fated voyage and returning to Oceanus, was it all just to reenact the tragedy of yesteryear once more? Applause. A truly splendid deduction, Mr. Collector. Y'all, this man was guilty the whole time. Although her resistance to the toxins caused minor mishap in my plans last evening, she would continue to be of assistance to me in the days to come. As for you, detective, your deductions end here. The charts you navigate by are flawed, steering you into a maw of uncharted waters beyond your control. You need her. The entire ship counts on her expertise. Since you already deduced that I had the Eisenberg make a turn, can't you see what now remains? The initial half of the sea chart provided to the cartographer unfortunately contains some errors, but we have already made the necessary adjustments. The diligent cartographer remained blissfully unaware of his ruse, pouring her heart and soul into crafting the complete chart, guided solely by the knowledge she held, yet sometimes fades to lies in such ironies. Yo, that is so unfortunate. I feel so bad for Soul Weaver. If only if it were not for the other regrettable error regarding the chart. The evidence to prove that there is more than one error on the nautical chart is it the restored nautical chart? You clearly ignore the cartographer's tales of wondrous creatures and their legends. For the sake of navigational simplicity, she erased them from the chart. In her heart, she harbors a steadfast belief in their existence. Never before had articulating simple words felt like such an arduous task, and whether the clarity of my sentence have ultimately been conveyed eludes me. I feel my body and consciousness plumbing all at once, descending into an abyss of darkness. What the heck? Wait, no. Chapter 4 is ending. The epilogue will now be available on April 18th. Bruh. Why did it have to end there? What? So I think Mr. Inference is gonna black out in the end here. But man, that was quite a lot to sit through. So I guess like composer was really guilty. He was the culprit all along in this. But man, the way that he had deceived like Soul Weaver and how like she put her heart and soul into this voyage, like man. But anyway, so I guess it really was like 4 chapters all along. I can see. Oh, okay. I see how it's like 90 of 100. I guess like next week it'll be the epilogue, and I'm really curious to see how this whole story is gonna wrap up. There were some moments there where I just like had no idea, or like maybe I wasn't thinking enough about what like the clues or like evidence to present in each case would be. But yeah, I would say that this story is something that I find to be quite interesting and that I enjoyed it. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys join me as we sit through the epilogue in the next video.